Hello, friends, and welcome to another edition of Get Woke with Danielle Moody. All right, there's a lot to cover, so let's just get into it, my lovelies. Y'all, we saw on Tuesday Donald Trump and Vice President Kamala Harris take the stage in what is now one of the most epic political debates I think any of us have ever seen. And while Kamala Harris showed up looking fly, fierce, and in her power and in her strength, you couldn't help but look at the way in which Donald Trump looked and sounded diminished and weak. I've been saying this. We've all been saying this for quite some time. But corporate mainstream media hasn't treated Donald Trump in the same way that they felt fit to treat President Joe Biden. I want you to take a look at this clip of Abby Phillips on CNN with a really important breakdown of the 2016 version of Donald Trump and this 2024 version. Take a look.
Is there a double standard over the mental acuity of Donald Trump? After months of hitting President Biden's fitness, Trump is now under scrutiny for his rambling at rallies and at that debate that we all just witnessed this week. We compared his debate answers back in 2016 to the ones that he gave this week. After the very first question on the issue of immigration, that is right there in his wheelhouse. This week, as you'll see, he veers off topic several times. Watch.
Well, first of all, she wants to give amnesty, which is a disaster and very unfair to all of the people that are waiting in line for many, many years. We need strong borders.
First, let me respond as to the rallies. She said people start leaving. People don't go to her rallies. There's no reason to go.
They're coming in illegally. Drugs are pouring in through the border. We have no country if we have no border.
People don't leave my rallies. We have the biggest rallies, the most incredible rallies in the history of politics.
The single biggest problem is heroin that pours across our southern borders, just pouring and destroying their youth.
And what's going on here, you're going to end up in World War III, just to go into another subject. What they have done to our country by allowing these millions and millions of people to come into our country.
You see there, friends, he's not okay. And with the side-by-side breakdown, you can hear it in his speech. He sounds slurred nowadays. He goes off on these tangents that we have no idea how they started or when and if they will end. And we continue to see this. And again, don't even take this side by side, right? Look at Donald Trump this week at a rally that was being held in Tucson, Arizona. And take a listen to what Donald Trump said there.
So Pennsylvania, remember this when you have to go to vote. Okay, just remember this.
Yeah. So go ahead, Philadelphia, which is on the other side of the country from where he actually was. Again, this is not the first time that Donald Trump didn't know where he was when he got out on stage. If this were Joe Biden, however, what we know to be true is that it would have been a non-stop story for at least a week from now until the election. It would be, does Joe Biden know where he is? Does he know he's alive? And remember, at the debate, Donald Trump had the audacity to say, Joe Biden doesn't even know he's alive. Kamala Harris had to remind him real quick, you're not running against Joe Biden. You're running against me. So we know that Trump is not okay. And I've said this, and now maybe some other folks will start to say it in corporate mainstream media. But do you know what else is not okay? I don't even know how to set this up. All I will say is maybe you should have a garbage pail or a tissue present. Take a look.
She's actually...
That's my software. That says Trump 2024.
Thank you,
Yeah. Donald Trump and known proud racist Lauren Loomer, who basically has become really cozy with Donald Trump in the last year. Cozy to the point where she accompanied him to a 9/11 commemoration this week, and Melania was nowhere in sight. And to put even a finer note on it, take a look at this tweet right here, because I think you get it. I think that Lauren is auditioning. Lauren, Laura, I don't really care, right? Racist duck, fool, white supremacist, it all's the same to me. Loomer, loony loomer, let's call her that. Seems to be auditioning for a role in the administration, and I don't think that it has anything to do with policy, if you know what I'm saying. Nonetheless, as we close out this edition of Get Woke, here's what we do know for sure, which is that celebrity matters. It does. We live in the age of celebrity and the age of influencers, and whether we like it or not, they can tip scales. They can open people's eyes to issues and things that they may not have paid attention to before. And you know that because Donald Trump tried to push out an AI version of a Taylor Swift endorsement. Well, lo and behold, following the debate, Taylor Swift, you know, the real version, offered her endorsement with her fluffy cat for the Kamala Harris and Tim Walz ticket. And while JD Vance wanted to say that it doesn't matter, it won't do anything, it's not that big of a deal, and who pays attention to elite billionaires, blah, 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 and I would say, sir, maybe check your running mate on that one.
How do you speak to women voters who obviously they care about what she thinks?
Of course. Well, look, we admire Taylor Swift's music, but I don't think most Americans, whether they like her music or fans of hers or not, are going to be influenced by a billionaire celebrity who I think is fundamentally disconnected from the interests and the problems of most Americans.
And you're seeing Megyn Kelly and others melt down over this endorsement. Well, I want to leave you with this. An actual breakdown of what is now being referred to, dear friends, as the Swift effect. Take a listen.
We're calling it the Swift effect now because it's really unlike anything I've seen. We're seeing a 400 or 500% increase in people coming and trying to register to vote immediately following the debate and in that period after Taylor Swift posted on Instagram. And what's really remarkable about that is usually you'll see these increases and they kind of fade away. In this case, we've seen it continue through the last 2 days into today.
How so?
Well, you know, I'm told, I have 2 teenage daughters, that she was on the Video Music Awards on MTV last night. Apparently, she put out another pitch for people to register to vote. And so we're seeing this continued spike of 4 or 5 times what you would regularly see. So we're talking about somewhere in the neighborhood of 9,000 to 10,000 people per hour just hitting our system. That's not indicative of everything, but it's a lot of it.
And what does this mean for the election?
Well, you know, a big part of this, the big question I think a lot of people ask is when you see new registrants, sure, they're registering to vote, will they vote? Well, we actually have statistics going back to 2020. We can see people who registered to vote this close to the election. Over 80% of those new registrants actually turned out in the election. So it's safe to say that not only are these voters who are registering are a big deal, but it's likely that they're going to come out on Election Day or before Election Day in the early voting.
Yeah, it does matter. It matters when people decide to engage and use their platforms for good. Not only did she tell her young followers, right, to register to vote, but she told them who she was endorsing and why, and that she did do her research. You see, we live at a time when it is important for people to choose a side. Either you are voting for democracy or you're voting for fascism. Either you are standing up for the values of this very imperfect nation, or you're standing on the side of those people that want to tear us down. So unlike Patrick Mahomes and his wife, Brittany, it is important to actually take a stand and use your platform for good. And so for that, I say thank you, Taylor Swift and the Swift Effect. That is it for me today, dear friends, on this edition of Get Woke with Danielle Moody. As always, friends, if you are liking these videos and you're liking this channel, do like it, subscribe, and share it with your friends. We are building something here that I'm hoping will be a community that goes way past the election, where we can gather and be in conversation with one another, because that's where real change actually happens. As always, power to the people, and to all the people power. Get woke and stay woke.